You might have noticed that I wear hand-painted aprons each week on Make It Artsy. They reflect my mood and possibly a technique I might be trying, not to mention giving me the chance to wear my art. You can too with my apron hack. So basically the deal is I have a plain, white, boring apron. Well, we're gonna fix that. The other thing is this apron doesn't fit me really well, so I'm gonna actually make it a little bit wider. So you can see I've just folded it in half, and then I'm gonna take my quilting ruler. I am working on a self-healing cutting mat, and I'm gonna cut it approximately down the center. If you want to measure, more power to you. If you don't want to measure, more power to you. It's totally what you want to do. Now I had a little trouble getting through this upper part, so I'm going to go a couple more times just to make sure I made it through. So now you can see I have an apron. The strap is still together, but it's split down the center. So all I'm gonna do is take a strip of fabric. It can be any kind of fabric that you want. I happen to find this really cool print, and you're simply going to insert it into the center. And to stitch that, you're simply gonna put right sides together, straight stitch down the center, and you will end up with an apron that looks like this. Pretty cool. But the problem is it still doesn't fit me well. So I want to show you how to fit an apron to your body. Now, you don't even have to have inserted the panel in here. If you're a smaller person, you might have wanted to cut your apron down and even cut a piece out and snug it up so it's even smaller. You can really customize it to any body type. The first thing I do is I want to put this on inside out. So I want to have the seams facing out. Now you can see that it's just not quite right. Now I am going to tie the tie around my back so that I can see how it hangs on my body. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to fix the strap because this is really silly. So all I do is I take a pin and I just pull the strap until I feel that it's the right length. And then, and I'm going to do this in the front. I would normally do it behind my head, but I want you to be able to see it. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin right here so that I know how much to shorten the strap. So first alteration done, and you didn't even know you were a tailor. So the next thing that I want to do is it's really floppy in the center. So basically, I'm going to pull this out so it creates almost like a triangle shape. Can you see that right there? And then I'm going to take the pins and I'm going to place one at the farthest out point and one at the closest in point. And you really do not have to be careful. Again, this is an apron, it's not clothing. So if it's not totally precise, it doesn't matter. It's not a dress. You just want something that fits a little bit better. So again, I'm going to make my other point here, and now I'm going to gently untie it and take it off. And I say gently because you have a bunch of pins in there, and I don't know about you, but I'm not totally excited about getting a pin in the face. Once that's done, I'm going to take a pen. Now you could also use a pencil if you were nervous about this. And I'm going to take my ruler and basically going from one pinpoint to the next pinpoint, I'm going to create a triangle line. And you can see my level of precision here is not that high. And that's totally fine because this is just a basic idea of where we're going. We're trying to create a basic dart. So I'm just going to go from one pinpoint to the other pinpoint, just like that. And now I'm ready to take this on over to the sewing machine where I'm going to stitch on these lines and I'm going to fix the top of the apron. So you want to make sure that you are using a sewing machine that has a straight stitch, which most machines do, and you want to make sure that you're using a machine that can handle multiple layers of fabric. I also like to be sure to take my pins out right before I sew because I have the lines there and I want to make sure that I don't actually sew through the pin. So I'm going to put the foot down and then I'm just going to simply step on it. You can back stitch if you want. I don't think you necessarily have to because I'm not really planning to wash this apron a ton. If you are planning to wash it a lot, then you do want to be sure to make sure to backstitch because that will make it a little bit more secure. Then once I come off, I just go back and forward and that side is done. So I'm gonna press the button to cut the thread. And I'm gonna repeat the same thing now on the other side, but you can see that this is really basic sewing. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could definitely do this by hand as well. It would take you a little bit longer, but you would still get it done. So I'm just headed on over. I'm going through multiple layers of fabric. So I just want to make sure that my machine is handling everything and everything's feeding well. And I'm removing the pins so I don't sew over them. And I'm just hacking on through here. And just like that, I can backstitch when I reach the end. And now all we have left once I cut the thread is to do the strap. And so this is really easy as well. I pull out the pin. I'm still holding this with my hand. I'm gonna go ahead and slide all that extra fabric around. Now this is really thick. This is where a heavy duty machine is gonna help you. I'm actually starting sort of in the middle of it and not at the end. I'm gonna go forward and off that big bump. Then I'm gonna go backwards, okay? And I went a little sideways, but it doesn't matter. We can just go ahead and try it again. Lift up the presser foot, the needle is still down, spin it, and we're gonna go forward once again. And just like that, let's do a little back stitch here at the end. Our apron should be pretty much tailored. So let's take a peek at how it turned out. So, this now is a much better fitting apron, I think you'll agree. But we've got some more finishing touches that we wanna do. So the first thing is this excess fabric that's inside your apron where you sewed that triangle. You don't need it. You can take your rotary cutter and your ruler, and you can leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance, 1/2 inch, however much you want, and you can just cut that off. You may have to go more than one time, especially if you have a sort of dull blade like I do. This is always one of those things where you need to change your blades frequently. And once you've cut through, maybe, there you go, you can see that you will have this beautifully finished inside, which you'll go ahead and iron to flatten out. So once that's done, what I've done is I've taken a pen and I have simply embellished the apron. And you can see that what I've done with my permanent marker is I've continued the pattern. Now you don't have to do this. You could paint over the whole thing if you really wanted to, but you can see how each pattern just continues. You can absolutely color it in. You don't need to use anything special at all, just a permanent pen that's not gonna run. And then the finishing touch is you wanna go ahead and sew on a pocket. And I just chose a beautiful striped fabric, you can see it right there, which means that I have a place to put my hands, my tools, and anything else. So I hope you'll give this project a try.